You're listening to WIDR Kalamazoo. And guess who I found on the street?
Hello. It's Barbara. I was out hustling and bustling trying to get in here.
Yeah, you sent me a picture on Instagram and I was like, where are you? That place looks like it's condemned. I'm not sure.
It was a creepy door, but it had something related to WIDR on it. So it's like, obviously this is the place. Obviously it's WIDR's in some smelly basement somewhere. But no, this is actually pretty nice.
It used to be in a smelly basement, so you probably found the old studio.
See, I feel like I did.
But yeah, we're above ground now, baby. We got some big windows. But I'm so excited to have you with us, Barbara, and one of the members of Spektakl.
Yep. It's me and Jules. We're a little duo. Me, Jules, and a drum machine and synth.
And so, what do you and Jules both play?
Okay, so Jules is our guitar player, and she definitely, I like to, think of her as like synth manager, so she sets the synth up and if something goes awry, she manages the heck out of it. Mm-hmm. And then I play bass and I sing.
Right on.
General vibe carrier with my voice, if you can call it singing.
Yeah, you definitely are. I feel like, the lyrics are... Well, what's your songwriting process been?
Actually, that's
do
a
you
really
write a
good
lot
question.
of the lyrics since you sing a lot of them, or?
Yeah, so it's really been very difficult, our recording process. We're hoping to have some stuff out on our Bandcamp next week, which is really exciting. Our first ever little demo. But as far as songwriting goes, I always write general phrases of basically the beginning of a conversation. And every single show I would sing something slightly different, but necessarily on topic, And so recording has been just this miserable process because I have to definitively say something and I have to, and that leads me to being like, oh, that's terrible. Because when you're performing, there's something about the atmosphere in the moment. It almost gives no matter how goofy what you're saying is, it almost gives it some credence, because it's in the moment it resonates and it makes sense. But when you're recording it, it's just I sound like such a goofball,
Yeah, you're just yelling out into sterile sound.
Yeah, dry static,
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
You're just I'm screaming into this dead air right now, and there's nobody around.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's hard to get the same sort of emotional motivation as you get with the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever change lyrics on the fly in the crowd, or is
Oh,
it
all
pretty...
the time, constantly. And it's I honestly I am very impressed by those people that they write something and they stick to it and that's how it sounds every time. That's very impressive. I just can't do that, so I have to make something up on the spot a little bit at least.
Yeah. Well, I can see how the recording process might be hard because then, it doesn't lend itself to so much flexibility.
Exactly. Well, and it's just filled with so much self scrutiny, because I in the moment I can't I may see a recording from that night the next day, which is way different. But when you're right there and you have this repeat button where you can constantly re-listen to it, it just unravels. So yeah, it definitely becomes a little bit more difficult.
And so you say you also have some synth and drum machines. So
Yeah.
are those tracks that you kind of pre-record, or are they all kind of different beats, or how do you write those?
Oh yeah, so there's a general writing process that we do on a DAW initially, and that's mostly just setting the pace, setting when the snares are gonna hit, and that kind of thing. And then we send that through to the synths, which we then mess with, So you can mess with your synths and you can mess with your amps, and then of course we're playing in some basements and one time even in a barn and just very odd places, So you never know what kind of equipment or PA you're gonna work with and stuff like that. So even if you try to get a consistent sound going,
Mm-hmm.
based on the location, it could just come out so different.
Yeah, that's true. Like some spaces, like absorb sound better, and others are more like reverby.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then would you say the writing process is collaborative, or do you come up with a lot of ideas and then bring them to Jules, or like is it just kind of you go to practice and you're like, hey, let's just jam out and see what sticks?
Yeah, honestly, the writing is extremely collaborative in the sense that I feel as though when I write something, I'm not even just writing something that I made because Jules has been such a tastemaker for the band, so I mean, I feel like she started my indoctrination into goth music and post-punk music, like, almost over a year ago, and slowly but surely it has, like, overtaken my taste, and so now when I'm writing, I'm, like, kind of fulfilling, her plan in a way, from just all the exposure. And then has been pivotal in writing a lot of the synth parts and drum parts and those kinds of things. But it is this sort of I think when she writes, she considers me and what I bring to the band as well. Like she almost leaves room for my little bit of chaos that I'm gonna inevitably need to have when we're performing, and so it does work out pretty well, pretty collaboratively when we write music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that shines through because everything you play sounds, pretty like cohesive. And I don't know, I remember the first time that I saw you guys play, it was like October of last year, and it was like in the backyard of Doom City.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, and we were definitely working on the sound, working on getting that like post-punk kind of vibe. I feel like for a while there we were kind of stuck in like almost like a surfy kind of sound, which is not too far off by any measure, but yeah, slowly but surely just like honing in on a specific sound has been a really very thrilling and compelling.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting that you're kind of, settling into your vibe.
Yeah.
So thinking of that, some music that might have influenced you, how about we get into the playlist?
Oh, I would love that. That sounds great.
Yeah, every band I have on air, I have them compile a playlist of maybe some influences and things like that. So, I know you like sent me over some songs, and then I compiled this playlist like literally an hour ago.
Yeah.
But I hope this is in an order that works for you. Cause
Oh,
first,
I trust ya.
first I was gonna play Midnight Underground.
Nice.
Yes, by Crime of Passing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Out of Ohio, there's not really a whole lot of especially Midwestern influences in like goth music right now. So definitely listen to them. They're on all the Crime of Passing. Really great. And you can go see them if you're around here. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, make a little road trip to Ohio. Okay, and then we have Jaguar by.
Monteroshen. Yeah. They're from Germany, so unfortunately we won't be able to see them anytime soon. But really good. They have, I think it's just like a demo, but it's like 5 or 6 songs. Super good. A lot of them, I would say most of them are in English. And yeah, they're just really well composed. Really getting the vibe right.
And as somebody who speaks German, I was so excited to see some German on this playlist.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. You're listening to WIDR Kalamazoo. And I'm in the studio with Barbara from Spektakl.
What up? Hello. Spektakl.
Yes.
Witness.
And we are deep in the rabbit hole now.
Oh yeah.
Whoa. I can not see the light.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, so I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
This is like the most important question of the day here.
Oh, exciting. I'm ready. Yeah.
If your band was a candy, what kind of candy would it be?
Oh, that's tough. What kind of candy would we be? I don't know. I feel like we would probably be something like weird, like saltwater taffy, or yeah, definitely, yeah, something like saltwater taffy, because it's like very industrial. Like it was like made in a factory or something. No, just like even more like just taffy, like well, like Laffy Taffy. That's our band. If you could get Laffy Taffy before they implant the sugar into it, just so it's as bland. Oh, banana Laffy Taffy. That's our band. I mean, well, and it's not because it's a bland band by any means. It's because it's so consistent that you could eat a lot of it.
That's true. You can never go wrong with a banana Laffy Taffy.
Mm-mm.
Unless you don't like banana. But I mean.
Well, it's not even a real banana,
No.
And also, who asked that person?
Exactly. It's like it is a subjective experience it's Laffy Taffies are simple but good.
Mm-hmm. But good, and also completely artificial and like a product of the modern world. Nothing old world about a Laffy Taffy at all. Just straight from like a machine.
Yeah, like I want to like taste that chemical banana taste,
Yeah.
like the circus peanuts.
Exactly. Yeah. We could be. Well, no. I wouldn't think that lowly of myself to call it. To say circus peanuts. I like the idea of a circus peanuts and their industrial nature, but they're just too gross, too nasty. That I draw the line.
It's probably just the texture.
I think so. No, I don't know. It's something about how like even though they're in my mouth and I'm like chewing on them, they just don't get wet. They just stay dry in there.
Yeah.
It's wild. It defies all physics.
Yeah, when I was thinking of your band, I don't know why, but like an Almond Joy came to mind.
I do love Almond Joy. That is pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty. I'll take it. There's a steady source of protein in an Almond Joy. That's nice pick me up. And then I love banana. I mean not banana. Coconut. Coconut and chocolate. That is a great combo. Although I don't know, Almond Joy is kind of particular. That's a debated issue. If you were to go out in the street right now and say, "Hey, you want an Almond Joy?" Somebody might like look at you insulted.
They're like, of course I love Almond Joy. Or, like, I guess they can kind of divide people in that way also.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting take, Almond Joy. Well, it's kind of sweet about an Almond Joy? It gives you like a little tube in there, so you can share with your buddy.
It does, yeah. And that's why I think one of the reasons why it made me think of your music, because it's like, not something, I mean, I could listen to it in my room alone, but it's most fun listening to with other people.
Oh, yeah.
And also, like, just the contrast between the dark and the light. It's like, ooh, you have, like, this picture, like, on the outside of what it's going to be, and then it's just, like, a happy surprise.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Well, then, friendship is kind of like the defining factor in my band. Again, we don't really have anything recorded, so most of the time, I mean, the whole reason we exist and have been able to exist is because of mutual, all of our friends in town and whatnot, and looking out, and people who are genuinely interested in weird music being played and stuff, recommending us. So yeah, if it weren't for friendship and having a second Almond Joy, there would be no Spektakl.
Wow, that's truly beautiful. On that note, how about let's get some more of this playlist going, because there's a lot to unpack still.
Yeah.
Next we have Lunar Camel.
Oh my gosh, Susie and the Banshees, classic album right here. This one is it's so beautiful, so atmospheric. The whole album is great, start to finish.
And then we have Du Scrollst by Lebanon Hanover.
Oh my goodness. Lebanon Hanover has been my addiction lately. I have just listened to like all of their albums on repeat. They're very popular. Sehr beliebt auf Deutschland. And you can check them out. They just actually got done with a tour in the United States. And they're like Spektakl. They're just a duo and a drum machine, and they nail the vibe. They have songs not only in German but in English as well. Yeah, True Romantics is another good one by them. Same album.
You're listening to 89.1
WIDR
WIDR
FM.
Your source for radio evolution. And you just heard Lunar Camel by Susie and the Banshees and Du Scrollst by Lebanon Hanover.
Yeah.
So I know you said the taste of your band would be like a banana Laffy Taffy.
Yeah.
But I want to ask maybe more concretely, how would you describe your sound? Would you say it's like goth, post-punk?
Yeah, I would say it's goth. I would say it's goth currently with ambitions of being darkwave. And really, ultimately, just being dark and danceable. The D&D, that's what we're shooting for. I mean, obviously you get closer to one and then closer to the other, and you just kind of pendulum between the two until you can find something in the middle.
I definitely see that whenever you play. Like that you're defining your sound even more, and like that you're just kind of like settling into it, kind of like we talked about earlier. And yeah, like every time it is very like consistent, like a Laffy Taffy. Like I always know that it's gonna be like a high energy like show from you guys.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like predictably unpredictable. You know it will be similar but a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's keep going with some more songs from the playlist. Next we have Insomnia by Zeno and Oaklander.
Yep.
And then Security Risk by Oppenheimer Analysis.
Okay, just they named their band that in 2012. I always have to preface with that one because they have the name is kind of like a little played after the movie.
Do you ever like send playlists to each other, or just like whenever you hear a song and you're like, man, Jules would love this, you just like
oh
send
yeah,
it over?
oh totally, without a doubt. I love to do that. She's a little bit of a tougher sell on because for me, I definitely took some convincing. She'd show me something and I wouldn't like get into it until like 6 months later or something like that. But with her, she's definitely like a much tougher sell. On whether or not she likes a song. Like I won't really know until I'm driving her around and she like kind of is tapping her foot while we listen to it, and I'm like, oh yeah, she digs it. Like that's cool. It is gradual, and then with some things it's just like Monterushian, for instance. Like we heard that and we're like, yeah, obviously. And Crime of Passing. It's just like there's just certain bands that do it so well that you're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Like gotta hear this more.
You're listening to 89.1 WIDR
FM.
And we are deep at the bottom of the rabbit hole here. I'm with Barbara from
Hello.
Spektakl.
Hi, it's Barbara from Spektakl.
Yes. And you just heard Insomnia by Zeno and Oaklander and Security Risk by Oppenheimer Analysis.
Yeah.
So I just had a few more questions for you.
Yep.
So, for one, how has your music taste evolved from, like, let's say when you were back in high school to now, and that you're making music with somebody else?
Yeah. So I think I've always been like desperate for like some sort of like performance oriented music, and so when I was in high school I became really interested in folk punk music, which I am not so interested at all anymore. But what I really liked about it was this sort of just like pouring out of emotion and this idea of countercultural, looking cool and stuff. But as I kind of got out of high school, I got a lot more into just like the ideas of like classic rock and roll and like the earlier beginnings of rock music and of what it meant to be like a heavy band or, cool in general. And then it really peaked for me once I discovered the Velvet Underground and I started listening to that a lot. And because it's just like, here you have these classic rock and roll, ideas, as well as these amazing performances and live performances that stretched on past anyone's imagination. And I really enjoyed this whole idea of falling apart, like the music just completely, like, it just falls into itself, it collapses, and you're just like bewildered by the crashing sounds and the screeching, and then out of that there's this steady simple drum beat that comes back in, and then you're just vibing and you're just dancing, and it's just rock and roll, and it's heavy, and you just want to look cool and walk around, and it speaks to your soul. It speaks to what it means to be an American. It's this disgruntled component of modernity, and but embracing it and saying, no, that's what's on my clothes, that's how I move, and that's what I really that's really what's influenced my music taste a lot.
Yeah, very well said. I think we were talking about this earlier, but just imagining like driving downtown, like it's dark out, but you still got your shades on, like you just feel like so cool. The windows are all down, and it's like 30 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah.
So you're like a little bit annoyed or like disgruntled, but you're still like, man, I'm cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's so much of it too. It's like you have to believe it because it's like, kayfabe or something, because it's so easily poked through if you're somebody outside of your own perspective. Like, you kind of do look a little dorky, but if you truly believe it and you're willing to, just believe in the severity of your self-delusions and romanticism and all of these things, and be willing to be a little bit overly dramatic when it's not necessary, you can achieve this sort of like visceral perspective of the world. And I think that goth music, as well as just sort of rock and roll music, they really emphasize that mentality of presence. And I think that acting cool and pretending to be cool is the first step in being cool, and a lot of that is just by being present, by doing things that, like wearing your sunglasses at night, that kind of put you in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation that draws a lot of attention to you, but it's all to make you realize you are right there, you have to exist right there.
Yes. Okay, well, we have time for maybe 2 more songs here. Okay. Next up, we have I Saw Nothing Good.
And So I Left by Brangolin. That's a really great one. Very popular. I can't remember what year it came out, but good album all the way through.
And then Billy Was a Vampire.
Oh, Cellophane. Another Deutsch band, another German band. This one is really great, really dark. A great one to end on, too. I love it.
Yeah, so much German tonight.
Like, the noise scene in Japan is also just, like, nuts. I mean, just, like, every genre. Like, doesn't matter, Well, they're, like, super into... Have you ever heard of Guitar Wolf at all?
I don't know. I don't think so.
He has a movie. It's actually kind of a beautiful story. It came out in like the early 2000s. It's just like a Japanese guy who he's really into rock and roll. He's got like a really like super loud punk almost noise band, and the story is about aliens and zombies invading Earth, but it's also like a trans love story. The main character guy falls in love with a girl, she's trans, and then Guitar Wolf comes to him as an apparition, and he's Guitar Wolf's biggest fan, and he just wants to be really rock and roll and just like him and wear leather jackets and drink beers and stuff. And Guitar Wolf comes to him and says, love has no gender, like that's not rock and roll to abandon her.
And this is Wombat Music with Spektakl in the house. We got Barbara.
What?
And we've reached the bottom of the rabbit hole here.
Yay.
Yeah, you just heard I Saw Nothing Good. So I Left by
Brangolin.
And then Billy Was a Vampire by Cellophane.
Yeah, that one was really good. I think you said it sounded like it could be played at a warehouse. Yeah, it very much has that feeling.
Like some industrial warehouse. Like it's like dark, but you're not afraid to move.
Oh yeah, plenty of space.
Yeah, so last thing I wanted to ask you, so do you have any upcoming shows or music that we should be on the lookout for on any streaming platforms?
Yeah, so we have one show tomorrow, which is really exciting. Can't wait to play that. It's going to be a great time.
At Second Impact.
At Second Impact. Not the first, but the Second Impact. And then we have some music coming out next week on Bandcamp, and you can look us up. To spell the name, it's Spektakl. And yeah, you're able to find us on Bandcamp.
Yes, they will exist on Bandcamp very soon.
Yes.
All right, well, this has been Through the Rabbit Hole with Wombat Music and Spektakl, signing out.